Howdy, partners. That's stupid. But it works for what I'm going to talk about today, which is I found a comfortable place yesterday. I've been looking for comfort places, places where I can sort of think and shut off is that even a word? Shut off the world a little bit. Turns out taking me back to circa 2010 is the way to do it, and plopping me in front of what is probably, it's always flopping around my top 3 video games of all time, but it might just be my favorite video game of all time. That is Red Dead Redemption, which is out on PC now, which means I'm playing it on Steam Deck as well as my PC, and we got all the high def 4K support now, HDR, all that. But it's essentially that game from then, and in some ways it shows. You'll look at it and go, "Oh, it looks like a 360 PS3 game," which isn't really the point. In our rush to always have the latest and greatest, sometimes it's good to look back and see where our fondest memories lie, especially in gaming. And it turns out for me, it might just be Red Dead Redemption. There's so much to unpack here. I don't want to make a long video because these are meant to be short, but I will say that the draw for me in these worlds has always been this mythology that America has. Everybody else has got thousands of years of stuff. The Greeks have the Greek gods, and the Egyptians their stuff, and Romans and all that. You've got hundreds to thousands of years of the word isn't content, but deep-seated mythology. Sorry, I keep bumping the camera. And I've always been a little jealous of that. Here in the States, we have just a couple hundred years, right? We don't really have we don't have that stuff. If anything, we share it with, who we left and rebelled against. We have Arthurian lore or whatever. But for me, if America has a mythology, it's the Old West. And I don't mean that the Old West didn't happen or there wasn't expansion west. Certainly there was. There were cowboys. There were lawless towns. There were all these things to some degree. But the entire thing encompassed like 10 to 15 years of time. It was like nothing. And it really represented just this short blip in the overall history of the country. And by the time we ended up with railroads, it was very quickly changing, and then it just sort of was gone. But we have so many cool stories to tell within that short period of time that it stands out as its own world. It's its own reality in a lot of ways. And it mixes really well with other genres. You can put zombies in the Old West. You can have vampires in the Old West. You can mix it with sci-fi occasionally. You can do crazy conceptual stuff with the West because it is a canvas that is infinitely paintable and relatable. And I just love it. I love Westerns anyway, but I love escaping into that zone. And the first Red Dead, in particular, really embraced the myth of the Old West. Red Dead 2, I also love, but it embraced more of the realities of the Old West. And mechanically, that was true of that game too. It got more mechanically accurate. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It certainly visually it improved. But I'm not saying it's a bad thing necessarily, and I think Red Dead 2 is way up there, but there's something special about Red Dead 1 and John Marston and his story. I can't explain it. It put me in a happy place. I played for a couple hours last night. It just felt good to be doing that again. It still feels good. That game's good. I remember the shooting being terrible. It's actually not that bad. I don't know if they improved it for the PC release. They may have tweaked it. That actually felt pretty good, and there's a simplicity to the mechanics that they expanded on in 2 that I think takes away a little bit from the beauty of the first one. It's funny we call it the first one, really. It's the second in a series of games with Red Dead in it. Red Dead Revolver, Red Dead Redemption, and Red Dead Redemption 2. But for all intents and purposes, it's like the first game. It's the one that matters. And it was seismic. It was such a huge hit and such a special game for me in particular. So I'm just going to recommend it if you're feeling overwhelmed by world events and you just want to dip your toe back into a time that existed but kind of is also in our imagination, and we'll just let you run wild a little bit. I think Red Dead is such a great revisit. I'm having such a good time. So go check it out. Help John Marsden do the right thing. Oh, that's the other thing. all the GTA games. So this is Rockstar game, right? All the GTA games are always about kind of bad people doing bad stuff, but you kind of root for him, right? It's like, oh yeah, Nico's cool, but he's kind of a mess, and everybody in 5 is kind of a mess, but you still sort of root for him. Like that's the point of those games, right? Well, the Red Dead series gets to do something different, which is real heroic people trying to do right. They're not just debased, horrible human beings for the most part, especially the protagonist. Like John Marston's a good dude, you know? And the game is gleefully having you occupy a good dude who with a checkered past, with regrets, with problems, with the issues, but still he's a right-minded, forward-thinking, let's go, let's get it done, let's do this, let's do that. Like, I don't know, man. I just, I love it. So go get your 6-shooter and your horse and meet me in Armadillo.